Hello, everybody, and welcome to Crash Zoom. I'm Sammie Purcell, Associate Editor with Rough Draft Atlanta, and I'm here, as always, with Aaron Strand, an indie filmmaker in Atlanta. How you doing, Aaron?
I am doing all right. Sammie, did you know that we are back on TikTok?
I did.
Our TikTok
did
account
hit
is
me a little bit.
Yeah,
I was aware of that this weekend, yes.
So our TikTok account was briefly not active because I had gotten a new phone, but then TikTok went back on the App Store, so I immediately downloaded it back to my phone, and we had a clip on TikTok kind of blow up this weekend. It was a clip from our previous episode where mostly I was critical of Raven Drummer and Tiffany Roche, casting directors here in Atlanta.
I think. Yeah.
We were both critical, but the clip was certainly more me being a bit vociferous in this regard.
Yeah.
And this was they had posted a clip to their social media from a podcast where they had laughed about only watching 4 seconds of auditions, of actor auditions, and they had already received a lot of criticism about this, and they had tried to offset that criticism. You can listen to the previous episode if you want the full conversation. Now, this clip kind of blew up on TikTok moderately. I think right now it's sitting at about 20,000 views. It got a lot of comments. I got a lot of DMs. Most were in support. Some were critical. Some were mean. That's just the internet. And I get that. I wanted to take this opportunity to not only address that this happened on our show, but to really kind of like define the journalistic principles of this show and why we said what we said and why we thought it was worthy talking about. You know, we started this show to talk about the good and the bad things happening in the business of film from the perspective of those who are at the bottom of the power structure, the independent creators who are really like having to navigate a very difficult world that is only getting more difficult, being the business of film and television. And we felt that independent voices were really lacking in the reporting space, and that a lot of the reporting was beholden to those in power for access to scoops and sources. I mean, my God, Deadline and The Hollywood Reporter and Variety are all owned by the same company. So this makes even very, very tiny things, which in the grand scheme of the world, like, don't really matter, such as criticizing local casting directors for something that they said and then posted to their own social media, very difficult, because some of the only people who are even aware of it are actors who are hoping that these casting directors can give them their next job. And I want to be very clear about something. And I said this in the initial take, but I just want to double down here. I do not think that Raven Drummer and Tiffany Roche are bad people at all. And I don't think that they created the problem that they are talking about in any way, shape, or form. In fact, I see them caught in the same exploitative system as the actors that they are requesting self-tapes from. However, within that system, they are being paid and they do have decision-making power. And the actors that they're asking labor from are not getting paid and do not have decision-making power. And regardless of their intentions, I think that when they laugh at those people, they are punching down. And I don't think that that is cool. There's a whole lot of punching down that is like happening in the country right now. And frankly, I find it abhorrent. But I think that something that Sammie and I can agree upon and can promise you, the listener, is that we will not be punching down on this show. It's kind of easy when you're an independent podcast. This is like literally like at the absolute bottom. Like nobody really cares what we think at all. But should we earn your listenership, you know, I guarantee a continued honesty and forthrightness, both in praise and in criticism, aimed at people who are in positions of power and should be accountable to the things that they say and do. Now, similarly, I also expect to be held to account, and I should be accountable for the things that I say. And while I stand behind the point that I was trying to make in bringing up this story, there is one thing that I do regret saying very much, which is that, you know, I said at some point that it was unfair for actors to prep a 10-page audition for, and I quote, a stupid Tyler Perry show. And I really wish that I hadn't used the word stupid. That was something that I said sort of in the heat of the moment. Because the truth is that I really respect the hell out of everything that he's built. I think it's an incredible story of independent success that is so rare in the entertainment industry, and it's something that I would like to talk about more in the future. So I really wish that I hadn't said that. And I guess I just wanted to throw that out there. That's really sort of all I have to say about the matter. Sammie, do you have anything that you would like to add?
Yeah, I think everything you said was great. And also, I was thinking kind of when you were talking about the like holding ourselves accountable thing, like I think everyone in this like situation right now can kind of like when you kind of go semi-viral like that, like obviously we want this podcast to get attention, we want people to listen, we want to give you guys kind of the independent spin on things, but I do think the first time you kind of have, and again, like we didn't go that viral, I think maybe we're inflating our egos a little bit, but you kind of stop and go, oh, okay, like I need to, think about how I speak. And I think that that's a good thing for everyone in this situation to kind of learn. So yeah, I appreciate you. That was a good little opener. I loved it.
Yes, thank you. My other podcast for Behind the Slate, I remember I made a TikTok like very early on, and it was when I was doing a series on Charlie Chaplin, and Charlie Chaplin in one of his last films worked with Marlon Brando, and I made a TikTok about and that like Marlon Brando and Charlie Chaplin like hated each other on this film, and I made a TikTok like about like why Marlon Brando is like a narcissistic psychopath, and like this clip went so viral.
A narcissistic psychopath.
Dude, this clip went so viral on TikTok. Really, I mean, it put our TikTok to shame. I got to be honest. But like all the comments were negative. Like the Brando stands like came after me so hard, and it was the first time I'd ever gone viral on a social media thing, and I deleted it because I was like freaking out. I was like, I don't want to engender this negativity, and I deleted the video. So it is certainly nerve-wracking when your stuff is getting seen by a bunch of people who don't know who you are.
Those Marlon Brando stands were all teenage girls who just watched Streetcar Named Desire in high school for the first time, just so you know.
In which case, I relate to them. I wrote my college entry essay about Marlon Brando in Streetcar Named Desire for the record.
Pretty powerful stuff, honestly.
It's very steamy. Very steamy.
Very steamy. All right. Well, I don't think we've even said what this show is about, so let's get right to it. If you've never listened to Crash Zoom, you picked a hell of a first podcast to jump into. So if you listen today and like what you hear, please hit that subscribe button. You can listen to us on Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts. And you can also watch us on YouTube at Crash Zoom Podcast and subscribe to our TikTok as well. Be sure to rate and review as well. That really helps us. And now I'll explain what we do on this podcast. So here at Crash Zoom, what me and Aaron do every week is we take a look at what's going on in the industry, in the film industry, on a big picture level and try to boil that down and figure out why it matters to the independent creator. But before we get to some of that, it's going to be a really fun-filled episode, I think. I wanted to ask you, Aaron, what have you been watching recently? Still Zootopia?
No, Zootopia.
Okay,
no Zootopia. Good. I've cut off Zootopia. My daughter has moved on to Beauty and the Beast and Wreck-It Ralph.
Beauty and the Beast, top tier. That was my favorite as a kid.
Yeah, I really liked it as a kid too. I mean, the kind of like gothic horror of it really has some boy appeal in a very.
The Beast is such a well animated character. Like it's just catnip for kids, I think.
Yeah. So she watched those for the first time. Really liked it. But I have only watched one thing, but it is like, dude, it is so on brand for me. Little plug, on March 4th, I'll be at the Terra Theater introducing Akira Kurosawa's Stray Dog for the Videodrome Kurosawa Noir series that we've been doing for the last 3 months. It'll be the last film that we're doing as part of that series. So be sure to come out to the Terra Theater if you're here in Atlanta. And so I watched Stray Dog, which is one of my favorite movies of all time, from Akira Kurosawa, who is my favorite director of all time. And I watched it with the commentary, with my favorite commentary track guy, who is a scholar named Stephen Prince, who wrote The Warrior's Cinema, which is like the best book about Kurosawa. And he does the best commentary tracks. I mean, it is like nothing but like pure fire factoids and context from beginning to end. I loved every second of it. I learned so much, and I'm so excited to give this speech on March 4th.
That's so awesome. You know, my favorite commentary track is Ben Affleck on Armageddon. You ever listen to that one?
I have not.
It's pretty great. He is having a good time. That's what I'll say about that.
Is he drunk and just like...
I don't know if that's ever been proven, so I don't want to say definitively, but he feels on the level, you know? It's a really great time. Would highly recommend. This week, though, I've been catching up on, or not catching up, I've been rewatching some Oscar movies before the Oscars next week. So I watched The Substance. I watched The Brutalist. I like The Brutalist more, but I like The Substance a lot. So that was a lot of fun. I also saw Bad Shabbos recently. I'm so sorry to any of our Jewish listeners if you're listening and I've said that incorrectly. But I have been practicing and it's just not working. So Bad Shabbos, I think. That would play at the Atlanta Jewish Film Festival. It was the opening night film. It's directed by Daniel Robbins and written by Daniel Robbins and Zach Weiner. And it's about an engaged interfaith couple. And actually, one of the running jokes is that the female partner, who is not Jewish, cannot say that word. So, you know, just everything except I'm just on brand. I'm on brand. There we go. That's where I am.
Well, it's really on brand for both of us. I'm watching the nerdiest thing possible, and you're struggling to pronounce a word.
Words, every word. So, but it's about an engaged interfaith couple who are about to have their parents meet for the first time over a Shabbat dinner, and then everything goes horribly wrong. I don't want to say much more. This is the most I've laughed in a theater in a really long time. I pray to God this gets a theatrical release at some point and isn't just bought up by a streamer. It's a pretty small movie, so I don't know about that, but it was just so much fun to watch with a crowd, and I laughed so much. It was great.
Well, maybe it'll get a little Shiva Baby bump.
I hope so.
Sounds fabulous.
Yeah.
I love dinner gone wrong.
Yes.
Settings.
Dinner gone horribly wrong.
It's probably my favorite kind of scene type. There's August Osage County has the play. I mean, I know they made a movie of it, but the play has probably the greatest dinner gone wrong scene that I've ever seen, that I think has ever been written. Love Dinner Gone Wrong. I would absolutely see that movie. I'm very excited.
Yeah, it's really, really good. Method Man gives a wonderful supporting performance.
What? Method Man's in it? Oh,
Method Man is in it. Keira Sedgwick is also in it. It's really great. It's wonderful. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
All right. Well, speaking of the Oscars, it's that time of year. We're about to get into some predictions. I'm so excited. I love predictions. I love it. It's you feel like you're so right and inevitably you're proven wrong. It's just wonderful. I love it. Love looking like an idiot.
Well, this will be really great. And just to kind of set the scene for the listeners, Sammie, she's seen all these movies. She was so on top of it. I mean, it's her job, but she's also a degenerate cinephile who sees everything that comes out. And while I promised on previous episodes that I was going to catch up and I was going to watch all these movies, spoiler, I didn't, because I only watch old stuff.
Yeah.
So, but I think that actually is going to be a good thing, because I am judging these films and I am making my predictions purely based on the media campaign around them.
Okay.
And purely based on sort of the narratives and how they apply to the Hollywood machine. So I think we get actually two very juxtaposing viewpoints, as opposed to me being swayed by my personal preference, which would just have Sean Baker win everything.
So I did kind of the same thing, but I also have, if my kind of desired win is different, I have that noted. Does that make sense? So I have what I think is going to win, and then what I would prefer win.
Well, you did make a prediction on Best Picture a few episodes back, and I'm curious
so
if you're going to stand.
No.
You're not going to stand 10 toes down on your wicked Best Picture prediction?
No, if it
Sammie,
happens,
I'm disappointed.
I'm so. You know what? I'm actually happy, because now I can just enjoy Wicked in peace, and I don't have to think about it being named the Best Picture. Anyway, maybe it will be, and then I'll have to eat those words too. But it's not Wicked. I will say that right now. Also, we're not doing all of the categories because that would take way too long. So we're just going to keep our predictions to Best Picture, Best Actress and Actor, Best Supporting Actress and Supporting Actor, Best Director, and then both of the Screenplay Awards, so original and adapted.
Great. How do you want to start?
I don't know. Do you want to like go up towards Best Picture, or start with Best Picture?
Let's go up.
Okay.
Let's build the drama.
Let's do
just
maybe
like
we should get. Well, in my opinion, we should get the boring ones out of the way, which are supporting actor and supporting actress.
Great. Okay. Well, first of all, I would like to describe this. So I am really seeing all of this. Now, first I thought I could brand all my predictions under this one banner, but some things that happened at the SAG Awards last night kind of like changed my predictions a little bit. And also, I don't know if you know this, but based on what happened at the SAG Awards last night, some of the movement on Polymarket has been sizable.
Oh my gosh, I'm sure.
It's
Jesus.
wild. Okay. So anyway, we'll get into all that, but really I'm branding this all as the pity Oscars. Everyone who is winning award, there is some story of like everyone going like, "Oh, we're sorry for you. It's the pity. Okay. I feel pity. It's the pity Oscars." So, okay, let's start with supporting actress and supporting actor. And I don't think we're going to do anything shocking here. No. Supporting actress is going to be Zoe Saldana because, we're sorry. Carlos Sofia Gascon is such a piece of shit. Oh, we're sorry.
I agree, but disagree with the reasoning. She's been number one in that slot since Cannes. Like, it has not budged.
It's true, but it was like, but any sort of like, any challengers has been fortified by the Carlos Sofia Gascon disaster because they're like, not your fault. Yeah, exactly. Because Carlos Sofia Gascon tanked the entire campaign for that movie.
She truly did. It's kind of awe-inspiring, honestly. Like I don't know.
I mean, everything about it, the way she handled it, the way Netflix handled it, the way Audiard responded to it. The fact that also was announced today that she's going to be attending the ceremony. Oh my God.
It'll be a very
KSG.
Interesting telecast.
Dude, KSG is going to be wildin'. Yeah, I hope to God the cameras find her. But anyway, but I do think that Zoe Saldana's like performance and her win was only solidified just being like,
sure,
it's not your fault.
It's not your fault. Also, I do think I don't think it's any secret that I don't really like that movie. And but even for people who don't like that movie, she has kind of been the like, oh well, she's good, which like I'll hold my opinions, but she is better than a lot of other people in the movie. I'll give her that. And the movie's not doing her any favors. But yeah. Zoe Saldana.
Yes. Okay. Supporting actor. Should we just get this out of the way on 1, 2, 3? 1, 2, 3.
Kieran Culkin, a real pain.
Yeah. I don't really have a good pity reasoning for this, even though I would much rather it go to Jeremy Strong because he is the number one boy. But
the eldest boy.
Yeah, you're my number one boy. God, it's so Succession is so good.
Really good.
But Kieran Culkin, he's gonna win it. There's really no doubt.
He's great. This isn't my favorite. And I guess I should say for the best supporting actress nominees, I think I would have to go with Ariana Grande. As much as I said I didn't want Wicked to win Best Picture, she is like a real bright spot in that movie. If I were making personal picks, and then I actually think this is a really strong supporting actor lineup. Like maybe it's not my top 5 of the year, but like I can't really quibble with any of them. But I think if I were to go with my heart, I would go with Guy Pearce. But I think Kieran Culkin's kind of got it in the bag. He hasn't lost. He's like not lost anything. It's wild.
Yeah.
All right. Do we go on to the main actors or do you want to go somewhere else?
Let's cover the screenplays.
Okay.
Best adapted screenplay. I'm gonna go with my. So this is not considered the favorite. But I think that Nickel Boys is gonna take it.
Ooh.
I am predicting Nickel Boys. I think that and again, this does fit into my pity Oscars umbrella. I think that Nickel Boys is going to get a little we're sorry that no one watched you till the last month. We're sorry. And frankly, I think that the adaptation from the novel to the screen is so incredible.
It's very good.
For the people who do vote for this category, I hope they vote Nickel Boys. I hope Nickel Boys wins. Yeah,
it did win Best Adapted at the WGAs, and I would love to see that happen. but there's like a little bit of a conclave wave, I think. And I don't think it's going to take them, spoiler alert, I don't think it's going to take them all the way to the top. But I do think it'll get them this little adapted screenplay. Plus, it's a wordier movie. Like, I think people, screenplay is like a funny thing because, like, if you think about it, most of these people probably aren't reading the screenplay. So, but it's just an interesting award, and I think Conclave is probably going to take it home. All right, best original screenplay.
What do you got?
I got Sean Baker for Nora.
Yeah, same. Yeah, I mean, the screenplay is really good. What are the challengers? What is he up against?
He's not up against challengers. I'll tell you that much. He's up against,
and we did it. We managed to mention challengers.
He's up against A Real Pain from Jesse Eisenberg, which I think is pretty good screenplay. The Substance by Coralie Farge, which is like, I haven't actually read this or looked at it much, but from what I hear, it's like a very kind of odd screenplay. I think it won Best Screenplay at Cannes, if I'm not mistaken. So, September 5th. And then The Brutalist. Yeah. I do think that this is like kind of like the cool kid award a lot of the time, I feel like. So even if Anora wasn't kind of making this push, I do think it would still probably win, just because like it's kind of like, Get Out wins this, Quentin Tarantino wins this, like, so kind of the cool kid award.
That's a great framing of it. And I'll talk a little bit more about sort of where I see Anora like fitting into the like Hollywood kaleidoscope of 2025, because I actually think it's like quite bad, quite scary, but to slot it into the Cool Kid Award is like absolutely appropriate to everything that Sean Baker's done in his entire career, and so I really, really hope he wins this.
I do too. All right, best director or actors?
Let's go best director. Best director. Well, could apply. Best director, I have Brady Corbet. And in this case, I do think that it is another pity vote because it's, he's so broke. He didn't make any money. We're sorry. You're so broke, Brady. We love you.
He's not the only one who's so broke.
According to
him,
for those who don't know, Brady in his like on the very final day of Oscar voting came out with this quote talking about how he hasn't made any money from his last two films. He's deferred all payments and put all of his money back into the production. He's shooting commercials in Portugal to pay his bills. And so that was his sort of like final plea, if you will, as part of his Oscar campaign. And I think it's going to pay off for him. And I think they're going to say, "I'm sorry, you're so broke."
I went with Sean Baker on this one. I think it just feels like the tides have turned a little bit. Maybe Brady could still sneak in with a win, but Sean Baker won the DGA, and that's like a way strong correlation, I think, with the Best Director Oscar. So I'm going to go with Sean. Yeah,
it's a good choice. Yeah, it's been really interesting, sort of like mapping, how all the other awards and their predictive qualities of what's going to happen in the Oscars. It's tough. I mean, I would be so happy if Sean Baker won this award.
Me too.
I'm
very happy.
For the record, I really do want him to sweep like everything. I want him walking away with like 8 Oscars.
Oh my gosh.
I don't think they're even nominated for 8. But yeah, I think that Brady is more poised to, because here's the issue, and like I'll start to get into my Anora spiel here, which is that the thing about Anora that scares me is that Sean Baker has proven throughout his career that he does not need Hollywood. And Hollywood in 2025 does not need Sean Baker and does not need Anora. Despite being an incredible film, Anora to this point has only made 15 million domestic box office, 22 international, which is like pretty interesting. But these are small numbers in comparison. And I think that the industry looks at Brady Corbet as somebody who could be branded and brought into the system as a sort of American Nolan type of type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that there is a real vested interest on behalf of Hollywood and the people in power there to elevate Brady Corbet, and get him his payday. But what will also mean is like bring him under studio, a studio system, and doing these kind of like epic storytellings, but on a bigger budget level. And that's why I think he's going to be pushed into the best director frontrunner.
Maybe. I think there's a world where everyone kind of finds him annoying, though. I don't know. Maybe that was not the right way to say that. My friend is constantly texting me like about anything Brady Corbet says, even if she agrees with it, and she's like, "Damn, I wish I didn't find him this annoying."
Yeah, but the thing is that his annoyingness is so viral. People
true,
love
yeah.
to hate watch him. And in this economy, that's what matters. It's the attention economy, and he demands more attention for his annoying pretentiousness.
Yeah, I do think that I don't know. Sean Baker has a teeny tiny little bit of an Oscar history. Like the Florida Project got some recs back in the day. Recognition. That's the word. Back in the day.
Wreck. Yeah, I got some wreck.
And there is also a world where maybe they don't need him, but they're like, if we do this now, we don't have to really think about this guy anymore. I want to think about it all the time, but I don't know.
I mean, me too.
Yeah.
But what I'm scared is that they might just say, why do we need to celebrate this guy at all? He's going to go make his next movie without us, and we're going to make all of our stuff without him. So what does it matter?
We're also talking about, we're talking about producers, I guess, feeling that way too. There are a ton of other people in the Academy who respect the, you know what I mean? So who knows how it's all going to shake out. And I mean, he won the Producers Guild Awards. Those are the people we're kind of talking about, right? So
you're right.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's go Best Actress.
Best Actress. It's the pity Oscars, Sammie. And that means that there is only one answer, and that's going to be Demi Moore. Because we're so sorry that we never gave you an award. We're so sorry.
You're doing this pity voice, and I'm like, it's a narrative. I love it. I'm so happy for her if this happens.
I'm happy for her too. I just personally, I think Mikey Madison should win.
I'm kind of split between them both. I Mikey Madison is great. I would be so happy if she won, and she's gotten she got the BAFTA, so she's got a little bit of a boost lately. But I rewatched The Substance last night. Demi Moore, it's I hate using the word brave, so I don't want to, but it's a better word than that. It's really awesome, what she does with that movie. So it would be cool to see her win.
Yeah,
but
it would. Mm-hmm. I have
Mm-hmm.
nothing against Demi Moore.
Demi,
I just think that.
Say, but
Demi, yes, Demi.
Yeah.
I have nothing against Demi Moore. There were some really interesting articles on Variety where they gave some little anonymous previews of ballots, and just the Oscars has a notorious genre. They don't like genre film, and I do think that there's a sizable portion of the Academy that found The Substance absolutely disgusting.
I'm shocked it's nominated. Nothing about the quality of it aside, I am shocked it has a Best Picture nomination.
Yeah,
that is proof, I think. I mean, there's a lot of proof, but proof of the Academy getting younger and more international, I think.
Yeah, for sure. But I think that the narrative around Best Actress is still dominated by the pity narrative around Demi Moore and the power of her Golden Globe speech. And it will tie into sort of the Best Actor conversation, but it's that Hollywood really needs heroic storylines. They need stars that feel like heroes. And while I would love for Mikey Madison to be the hero, the truth is that she's not on social media. She doesn't really engage a lot. And even though she may be one of the most talented actresses alive, I think that all that stuff is going to be held against her. She's
looking real fierce on every red carpet, though. I will say, and this kind of, I'm going against myself in multiple categories here, but the Oscars love an ingenue in Best Actress. That happens quite a bit. So True. I don't know. We'll see.
However, SAG Awards last night, Demi Moore won.
She did.
SAG Awards are 72% predictive of who wins Best Actress at the Oscars. Mikey Madison was in pole position before last night to win this award. There was 20-point swings on her and Demi Moore's betting odds, and Demi Moore is now the front runner on Polymarket.
Yeah. All right. let's talk about, in my opinion, the most unpredictable race. I'm the most not worried, but I'm just like excited about this one because I actually genuinely don't know what's going to happen, and I had to make a guess. So that's Best Actor.
You go first. Take it away.
I picked Timothée Chalamet for A Complete Unknown. I think this is a bit of a gamble. And Adrian Brody is great, and the Brutal has nothing to do with quality of performance here. When he pulled out that SAG win, the speech, I just think this entire press tour is really gonna like actually prove to work. We've talked about it before, I won't harp on it now, but his speech last night where he like essentially like was like, this is great, but it's all about the work, man. I'm gonna be Michael Jordan, I'm gonna be Michael Phelps, like I'm in the pursuit of greatness. Like I really think it might happen. And this is actually kind of going against, because the Oscars love an ingenue for Best Actress. They historically do not really love an ingenue for Best Actor. So it's a little bit of a switch here, but I think it might happen.
I 100% agree. I only hear one song right now, and I believe this is Nickelback from the Spider-Man 2 soundtrack. Because we need a hero to save us. I'm not going to stand in the way. Yeah, Timothée Chalamet is the hero that Hollywood needs right now. I hate to hand it to him. I wanted so badly to say that the Kardashian curse was going to come for Timothée Chalamet's Oscar win.
No.
I don't think it's going to happen. I think he's going to pull it off. The press tour is amazing. It's redefining Hollywood press tours post Weinstein. It was incredible. And I loved his speech last night. Mm-hmm. I really, really did. I loved the earnestness. He said everything that I wish I could say on a stage. I do have to say, my guy, if you want to pursue greatness, why do you do such shitty movies? But at the end of the day, I think it's going to work. He is the breath of fresh air that Hollywood needs. They need a star like him. Everyone is like bought in. It is laughable that he's going to get this award for his ridiculous Bob Dylan impression movie.
Have you seen it?
No, I haven't seen it, but
it's not bad, I have to say.
Come on, all these music biopics are the same thing.
I agree. I wish that he wouldn't win for this, but I want him to win an Oscar, and they never pick the right movie. It's fine.
It's the same,
but
but it's the same thing with Rami Malek. I mean, all these best actor
sucks.
For their stupid music impressions. It's just,
I will say, far better than Rami Malek. That was a travesty. And like Timothée Chalamet said last night, this was 5 years of my life. I worked really hard. I learned how to play the guitar. I learned how to... I agree with you in spirit. I do think I'm a little over the biopic thing. And especially making a movie about Bob Dylan is really hard because he just lied about his whole life. It's hard to get past the legend. But
yeah, I mean, totally. Well, I mean, Todd Haynes already made a nearly perfect Bob Dylan movie, so
yeah, he did. I'm just saying this could have been way worse, and instead it's fine. It's the type of movie where I don't think it's going to win Best Picture, but if it did, I would just kind of be like, yeah, okay. It wouldn't bother me, and I wouldn't be excited, if that makes sense.
I've only seen the trailer, and I would be really upset if it won Best Picture. But Timothée Chalamet. Fine. Timothy, you have done a wonderful job. You're very charismatic, and I think it's going to get you this statue. Good job, bud.
I can't wait to see your ping pong movie. All right, the big kahuna, Best Picture.
Yeah, Best Picture.
All right.
I'm sticking. Can I? Or do you want to go first?
You can go first.
All right, I'm sticking with Anora. I want Anora to win. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna hold on to it, but it's I do think it's dicey.
Yeah, I have also gone with Anora. I think, it won the PGAs, it won the DGAs, it won at the WGAs, and this might be wrong. And I was trying to find this today when I was compiling my notes because I know I read it somewhere, but I just want to caveat, I am pulling this from memory, so I think this is true. if Anora lost Best Picture, it would be the first time that a movie has won all three of those and lost Best Picture since Brokeback Mountain, which like is a historically bad loss, right?
Yeah.
Which, of course, watch them do that again. But my only caveat to this, and this might sound strange, because I kind of think Conclave is in second place right now.
That's what the markets are saying.
And I think the Oscars is ranked voting.
Yep.
And
just for Best Picture.
Yes. And so Anora is probably slightly more divisive than Conclave, although, you know, it's about religion, so maybe there's some people who find that, like, I guess, or find like the content in it's morally objectionable or whatever, but like I think Conclave is a little bit more of a consensus pick, and so I wonder if like Conclave gets a bunch of like 2s and 3s and Anora gets more like 1s and then like a 9, or like, you know, that could like definitely shake things up, but I'm gonna stick with Anora for now.
Yeah, that's the fear. That's the fear. Because basically, Anora, for those who haven't seen, Mikey Madison's basically naked for like the first 40 minutes of Anora, which is like a pretty wild way to start a Best Picture film.
It starts off with a montage of like boobs and butts. Like it's like amazing. A slow pan across the thing. So, you know, there might be some division among Academy voters about that, which might allow Conclave to pull through a little bit, but I don't think so. So
yeah, I really hope not. God, I hope Sean wins this. I am rooting for him so hard. I am projecting like onto him, like so many independent filmmakers are. And if you're not, like, I really hope you like get on the bandwagon, because like he's saying all the right things. I don't know if you saw his speech. Which was it? The WGA's?
I think so. He's given so many at this point. I'm like.
Yeah, but his speech basically around fees for directors and how, you know, anytime you sign up to make a movie, you're signing away 3 years of your life, like 3 years of work. And that right now for independent films, like the fees like are totally unreasonable to sustain you for 3 years of life in America.
Yeah.
And I just was like, I mean, I was just hanging on every word. He was like, there's a lot of people in the audience right now who like know, you know, who have probably like sacrificed 3 years of their life and not been paid anything. I was like, yes. So I love it. I do have a little bit of a inside source on this one. I know, I have heard that Sean Baker went into production of this film believing that this was going to end his career. He thought that this was going, yeah. He was like, dude, I'm making this crazy movie about a sex worker. Like, I'm going to be canceled for this.
I've never done that before.
Well, I mean, but it's a little different. I mean, and really thought that this was like, you know, it felt like a major risk, like on the inside, and to see, and again, like he made it like completely outside of the. He made it outside of the bounds of Hollywood. Like, he did not need the studio power structures to like deliver this at all. And that is incredible. But that's also what scares me the most, because we are in such a crass, banal, transactional world. And I just really fear that he's going to be punished for it.
I don't know if he's going to be punished. I think... I just don't know if he's like worth punishing at this point, because like you said, he doesn't need them. So like, I don't know. I think it's going to be fine. Maybe I'm underthinking it, but.
Let's just hope. Let's just hope. Come on, Anora. You can do this. You can do this. You can do this.
A fraud marriage. So I know I throw an Oscars
very
party.
Disrespectful.
I throw an Oscars party every year, and we do like themed cocktails for each nominee. And for Anora,
where was my invitation, Sammie?
Do you want to come?
No. I believe we have another Oscar party to go to, but
okay,
you know,
fine.
next year.
Whatever, next year. But the Anora one is a pink Russian, which actually sounds disgusting. I'm kind of hoping whoever picks it decides to do a white Russian instead. But it's a pink Russian, which I thought was appropriate.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sounds like it.
Yeah. And it's called a fraud marriage. Exclamation
Fraud.
point.
Yes.
Point.
Yes.
All right. We did. We have some more Oscar stuff to talk about because the Oscars might have some new AI rules coming to us. So there are a couple articles out there about this, but this one in particular is from IndieWire. It's by Marcus Jones and Chris O'Falt. So if you've been paying attention to the Oscar race this year, you know that there have been a lot of like quote unquote scandals with AI affecting a lot of the Best Picture nominees, from The Brutalist to A Complete Unknown, which is like kind of the lead of this IndieWire article. It picks the one that like maybe you didn't know that they used AI for some shots in A Complete Unknown. I think it says mostly for like I can't remember what the technology is called, but it like makes stunt doubles look more like they're actors essentially.
Yeah, it's like just AI masking
Yeah.
Tools.
Yeah. And basically, because or in light of all of this talk around AI, obviously it was a huge talking point in the strikes last year. Was that last year or 2 years ago? 2 years ago. Wow,
2
time
years
has
ago.
moved fast. The Academy is considering, right now they have an optional disclosure for AI use, but they're preparing for their annual review of rules this spring, and they're considering making AI disclosure mandatory. And the reason I sort of, like I said, there's a lot of articles about this out there, but I liked this IndieWire article because it sort of dissects how often AI is kind of used in our everyday lives and we don't really know. And I'd be interested to see how this mandatory disclosure thing, one, like if it moves forward, and two, like what the sort of like if the Academy will draw some sort of line, like this is too little to disclose, this is too much. Like this article points out that AI is like built into a lot of tech that people who work on movies use all the time. Like they might not even know that there's like something like in this like thing they've been using for years. Will they differentiate between generative AI, which is really like kind of the crux of all this, all this conversation and all these issues to begin with? Yeah, I thought this was like a very interesting kind of take on like, there's one quote in here that says, would you consider the selfie you took this morning made with AI? It was shot on an iPhone, made in the last 3 years. It's likely it's got more AI generation than any movie with an Oscar nomination, which I think mandatory disclosure dependent on the rules like doesn't really bother me, because I do think it's like important that people, I guess, be like open about this kind of thing and transparent about it. But it will be interesting to me to kind of like see how this exposes what people do and don't know about like how much it's already like in our lives and has been for years.
Totally. I mean, my first question is like, who's enforcing this mandatory disclosure? Because like,
well, I mean, like it's going to probably put like a lot of like this article kind of like, are you going to put like the burden of this on like the visual effects team who's using like whatever and like has to like figure out if there's AI built into whatever like tech that they're using, But I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's a lot of questions.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that'll be a good like six-figure line item budget. Whatever producer was tasked with like rounding up. Yeah, I mean, look, like if they find some way of enforcement or people hold people accountable, because I just can't imagine that if there's no enforcement, like people are not going to be honest about this.
Yeah.
I think ultimately the good thing would be to just give people to just be transparent so that the audience can be educated, because this is what I've been saying from the beginning is that like, dude, like AI as a terminology is not the bad guy, and it's already everywhere. And it is particularly when it comes to like color grading and any sort of like coloring of film. And that's what the article is trying to say. Like your iPhone uses AI to auto adjust exposure to like do this entire color pass on your photo before you've even done anything. And on a similar level, similar things are happening in colorists' workflows every single day. And it's just not that big of a deal.
It brings up kind of an example of the Dune franchise where they use machine learning to like figure out where people's eyes are essentially when they want to turn them blue to like the spice color, if you've seen Dune. And it's like, would you feel better if like they took just the time to like find eyes, circle the like do all that manually, or like does it bother you that like they use machine learning to do that? It's a time consuming process, and like we need it. I think we've talked about this before, like there needs to be differentiation between that and like using AI to write a script or whatever it might be.
Yeah, dude. Also,
Yeah.
I mean, just like, I deal with this all the time in my own workflows. Like, that's just simple tracking and masking that has been happening in film from
For
time
a long time.
immemorial. But on a computer level, if you are keyframing, which is basically you're creating all these little data points, and if you have to move those data points manually, frame by frame, you're talking about so much work. It's so much work. Even like prosumer NLEs that like I would use have literally turned it into a single button that allows you to track and mask and move things around with incredible ease. So any sort of like fear and kerfluffle around that I find to be Luddite insanity. The issue is generative AI, and that should we begin to put in safety guards so that generative AI is not coming in and taking over movies and without users or without audience members knowing about it. God, the fact that I just said users is like probably a part of the problem. And I think that would be a great thing. I think that we should have all the information. And as an independent filmmaker, I would also love all the information about the other non-generative AI so I can know how to improve my workflow and save myself some time. Because I would love to learn what Hollywood is doing to make things easier. Because that's what these tools most of the time are for.
Yeah, I think depending on how this is sort of rolled out, the transparency aspect, I mean, enforcement's tough, but who knows what they'll do. I don't know. I guess it'd just be self-reporting, which is like...
Well, sounds like a foolproof system to me.
I'm gonna have someone like come in and like search through all your stuff. Like, I don't even know.
The Academy will need its own police force.
God,
or their own Doge.
Not need to happen.
The Academy Doge team will come over and go through your books.
Grody. All right. Yeah. Let's move on. This also is Oscars related, at least. This article is from The Hollywood Reporter. It's called The End of TV is Here. It's by Alex Weprin. Hopefully I'm saying that right. And it came out earlier in February. And they use the Oscars here as a lead to show that 2025 might be the end of linear TV as we know it, which, like, I feel like we've been talking about that for ever since the beginning of this podcast. So not that long, but, pretty long time. But they basically use the Oscars as a lead here. So when the Oscars air on March 2nd, this year, for the first time in the history of the broadcast, they will be streamed live outside of pay TV. So outside of cable, essentially outside of a cable bundle. So they'll be on Hulu, and they'll also be broadcast on ABC. So it goes on to say that, quote, 14 of the top TV broadcasts in 2024 were exclusive to pay TV bundle services. So that's cable. According to data from Nielsen, all of them football games on Fox or ESPN. The Oscars also cracked the top 100. Come next year, so this year, 2025, that number will be 0 of 50. Every single thing on Nielsen's most watched list will be available in a standalone streamer in addition to big bundles. So I guess I'll just leave it there. I feel like, again, we've been talking about this forever. And like, I'm kind of like, yeah, here it comes.
Here it is.
Yeah.
Linear. Look, I mean, linear cable is going to shift into a skinny bundle model. It's going to become highly more tailored around sports content or potentially other content forms. But I think it's really going to be tailored around sports.
Yeah.
And for the generation that doesn't want to cut the cable and is vested in sports entertainment. Maybe there's like a Taylor Sheridan bundle. I don't know. They can like hold on to.
The extended like universe of Taylor Sheridan.
CBS Taylor Sheridan bundle.
Yeah.
No, but that's what cable's going to become. That's the way that they're going to remain somewhat profitable as their core audience like continues to age. And unfortunately, it is coming at, what I would argue is that it's coming at the expense of value to the consumer. I think that the cable bundle was a far better value because the situation that we're in now is that we have crossed the threshold where we now have to pay more to get the same amount of programming that we were getting in the cable bundle. The one thing that we've gotten is the convenience of on demand, but one could argue that we are in not only a more confusing and more expensive entertainment space, but I think that on the whole, the product has deteriorated by moving to direct-to-consumer pay models and out of advertising pay models, because there's no longer an incentive structure to create shows that are good enough to attract advertisers, and instead it is the subscription service in and of itself that justifies its own existence through subscription fees. So we have made all these points a million times, and here it is. Some final nails in the coffin. Let's go.
Yeah, 0 out of 50. It's funny, this article, I think it quotes some executive where they're essentially, someone at the Academy is like, well, we can only be relevant if we're on streaming. And I'm like, I think you guys kind of lost that battle a long time ago. You're not wrong, but I don't know if this is going to help.
Yeah.
But that's just a small little note from me. You guys lost relevance a long time ago. All right, should we move on? I feel like we've talked about that so much. Like, I'm just like,
yes,
it's a good point. Like, but we talked about it so much. All right.
Yes.
And this is
Bye Cable.
This is far more funny to me to talk about. Not funny, I guess, but interesting. All right. So this is from a Deadline article by Justin Kroll, Mike Fleming Jr., and Jake Cantor. The Broccolis no longer have James Bond.
No!
I no longer get to talk about the Broccoli family when I talk about James Bond. That's not totally true, but I love that last name so much. It makes me laugh. Producers, noted James Bond producers Michael G. Wilson and Barbara Broccoli. So their father, Albert Cubby Broccoli, was the original James Bond producer. They've stepped back from James Bond, and Amazon's MGM Studios will take control. So there's not a lot of talk, or like, I guess official talk, I should say, outside of like press releases and speculation about why they decided to do this now. I think in the press release, Wilson in particular was like, I want to move on and do other things. And there's like speculation that Barbara Broccoli is like cool with the way the Daniel Craig version of James Bond ended, and she's like fine leaving it at that. Who knows? And I'm a little surprised because there's been a lot of tension between Amazon and the James Bond producers since they took over MGM in 2022. Broccoli, I think, called them like fucking idiots.
Fucking idiots.
Yeah. And she has been really resistant. She and Wilson have been really resistant to things like spin-offs for other characters or like extended universe stuff, the stuff that like everyone does with Star Wars and Marvel, et cetera, stuff that a content machine like Amazon would love to do, I'm sure. And she has been really resistant. And then on the other side of things, Wilson and Broccoli both love to have like a lot of control over James Bond. So they're also really resistant to some directors who have expressed interest, for like example, Christopher Nolan, because someone like him would want to exert a lot of creative control over the project, obviously. So this feels kind of relevant to me just in the fact that like James Bond really, or at least to me, just feels like one of the most like old-fashioned franchises. They've done it the same exact way since 1962. Like people lost their minds when they cast a blonde man. Like it's like people, that whole franchise just feels like so resistant to change in a way. Like it's just like, I can't believe, it's like that TikTok, I can't believe you've done this. You know? But
oh my God, I'm out of touch. I have no idea what the hell you're talking about.
It might actually be a Vine, but you know, same diff.
Wait, so it's like from 10 years ago?
Yeah, it lives in my mind rent-free. So many Vines live in my mind rent-free.
Oh my goodness.
That was a really special social media.
Yeah, R.I.P. Vine for sure.
R.I.P.
Yeah. Well, first of all, are you a James Bond fan?
I wouldn't call myself a fan, but like I like a lot of the old Sean Connery ones. Pierce Brosnan was like my first James Bond. I'm that age. And I like I really like two of the Daniel Craig ones. So I'm not like a huge fan, but I will go see a well-made spy action movie. That sounds like a good time to me. So
yeah, totally.
Mm-hmm.
I think we fall really sort of in the same boat here. I would not call myself a James Bond super fan.
Yeah,
but I loved Skyfall. I thought Skyfall
so good. It's amazing.
Was one of the best movies from the last 25 years.
It rocks.
I really do. I mean, I thought as far as like big budget action films, oh my God. I love Sam Mendes. I've seen a lot of his theatrical work.
Yeah.
And so to see him kind of bring this theatricality to see Bond be reinvented for modern kind of millennial audience, a 2010s audience, I thought was just fabulous. And I thought Daniel Craig was great.
Yeah.
I thought
Great
it was a
Bond.
great James Bond.
Great Bond.
I am, man, I am so sad to hear this news. I love the fact that this franchise has stayed with a single family. I love that they have cared so deeply. I have a very different reading about their reasonings for stepping away.
That was speculation. I'm not sure like what it actually is, but like, I'd be interested to hear what you think, but yeah.
We don't know. I mean, Michael Wilson said that he's retiring. He's 83 years old. So it's like, I think he's done. And I think that this is, look, I think that Barbara, everyone's terrified of Barbara Broccoli. And she is super tough. And basically, I mean, she protects Bond with her life. And to the benefit of the series.
Like, yeah.
I mean, they have, like, she's quoted as saying their operating mantra on when fighting studios about Bond is don't have temporary people make permanent decisions. I mean, this is incredible stuff. Yeah. Incredible principles to live, to protect your art around. And look, I mean, they've made $7.6 billion, one of the most successful franchises of all time. And we talk all the time on the show about the issues of supply and demand. And that the problem with the like market saturation model that these studios do with their IP is they oversaturate the market. They oversupply and decrease demand. And the Broccoli's have understood that implicitly, putting massive amount of times like between Bond franchises. They take their time in finding the next James Bond. It's got to be right for them to say yes. Very thoughtful, and it has worked. It has worked for them since 1962. So I think that this is just terrible news.
What's your speculation for why they've done it? Because everything that I said was sort of just like, this is what people are saying. But what do you think?
Yeah, I think that it's the model that is playing out across our country when you are within a system of power, and and you are at odds with that power. That power has all the ability to lean on you, make your life miserable, make your job impossible, and then they offer the biggest check you will ever see in your life to walk away.
Yeah. A lot of money. I'm assuming.
Huge. That's what it is. Yeah. Some people have reported they paid $1 billion. That has not been confirmed. So some people were throwing out $1 billion, which would be ridiculous because Amazon paid already $7.5 billion to buy the MGM studio backlog, which includes the distribution rights for Bond. So then they would pay, which was already a huge premium, and then they would pay an additional $1 billion just to get control of Bond. But regardless, it was Matthew Bellany who in his newsletter was like, $1 billion's not confirmed. Like, don't be talking too soon. But regardless, it was a huge amount of money. And it was it's messed up, but that's what happens when power is concentrated at the top, when you have an oligarchy running entertainment, and you have an oligarchy that doesn't care about the entertainment outside of a vehicle to increase their own profits. They don't care about the art. They don't care about the thing. I mean, the fact that Jeff Bezos, as soon as the announcement was made, went on his Twitter and was like, who do you think should be the next Bond? And just like opened it up to like a Twitter poll. I mean, Barbara Broccoli probably threw up in her mouth. Yeah. Like seeing that crass, muscly douchebag, like do that with her family's prized possession. Yeah. So I just think it's really bad. I think there's no way that Amazon is possibly going to make this good unless they hand it over to an auteur and say, Christopher Nolan, you can do whatever you want.
That's maybe like the one tiny like ray of light you could see, if only because like I said, like was it like Steven Spielberg who called Barbara Broccoli like after he made Jaws and was like, let me make James Bond. It was someone like that, I think. I'm pretty sure it was him. But she and Michael Wilson, I don't want to like leave him out of this, but like I think like they are really like picky about who they sort of like allow to take the mantle because of how much like control they want to have over the creative output. So I think like, and I don't know if this will happen, I feel like it's way more likely we'll get like a James Bond TV show. But maybe there's a world where like Quentin Tarantino finally gets directed a James Bond. You know what I mean? Like maybe there's some like crazy world where it's something like that, but I don't really think so.
Yeah, I they're gonna start like bringing back like bad guys from the past, like iconic bad guys from back in the day. They're gonna
Pierce
do all
Brosnan's gonna be come in from a different multiverse.
Yeah, they're gonna do dumb shit. There's no way, like they're just gonna do dumb shit. As much as I would like to see them hand this over to a real A-list auteur,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they're really gonna do it. I just think that there's there's no way that it's gonna end well.
No, I don't think so
Amazon. I don't. The people that are also in charge of the Amazon thing. I mean, whether it's Jin Salke, or they're going to hand it over to Scott Stuber and Courtney Valenti. Scott Stuber, he did all the tent poles at Universal. Courtney Valenti, she's kind of done a lot of the work behind some good stuff, Barbie, Mad Max Fury Road, but then also like the Harry Potter spinoffs and the Fantastic Beasts stuff. So I just think that like the people that they have in the room have a pretty proven track record of what they do with long established IP. And it's going to make them money, but it's not going to make films that we really remember or cherish.
Yeah, I agree.
I do want to ask though, do you have any personal preferences on who plays the next James Bond?
I have said this forever. I would love to see Dev Patel do it. Like, would really love that.
Really? Why?
I just think he's British. He's very handsome. I think he's got like the suave thing. Monkey Man's obviously a very different kind of action thing, but he proves he can do kind of the action thing. I thought he was very believable as an action movie star. And I just think like, I don't know. I think he would be a good, suave spy. It would be kind of like with casting Daniel Craig, just like a little bit of a different read on the character, you know? I just think it'd be fun. I'd like to see him do it.
Yeah, I could see it as it would be fun. I don't think he.
You have a problem with Dev Patel?
I like Dev Patel. I don't think he has the danger that a great Bond has.
See, I might have agreed with you like a few years ago, but like Monkey Man like really pulled me around to like action star Dev Patel.
Well, I mean, but there's a difference between like you can commit to action and when you walk in on screen and it's like, oh, like this guy could like fucking kill everybody. Like, I mean, like,
yeah, but like I don't feel that way about
like,
Sean Connery. Like, or you know what or at least like Sean Connery in those movies. Like, I don't know. He doesn't like. Yeah. He's got like a little romper on. He's adorable.
Okay, wait, hold on. That's Zardoz. Oh, I guess in the pool at Goldfinger. Yes, he's like got his little underwear. No, I think Sean Connery absolutely has the danger. I mean, he's a little bit more suave than danger.
I think in different movies, like at least like those early. I find those early. If I'm being honest, those early James Bond movies like slightly cheesy but in a fun way, and I just that doesn't read like he doesn't read dangerous to me in those movies, although I agree he definitely has the ability to read dangerous. So I don't know, I think it would be a fun little like, maybe I should stop using the word fun. I think it would be a different take on Bond, and that is sort of I mean maybe they can just keep doing the same thing over and over again, but I think it would be cool to see us let's try to go a different way. And I think he's got the suave thing down. Like, I find him, like, exceedingly charming.
I think he's just British.
And I think that's a male take from you. I'm not going to lie. Every woman I know is, like, obsessed with Dev Patel.
Well, this actually kind of disagrees with who I would want to play Bond. But I also think Dev Patel is a little bit... I think Dev Patel's a really good actor. Mm-hmm. And maybe it's just part of me just doesn't want to see 10 years of his prime like sucked into Bond.
Yeah.
But I think Dev Patel could potentially do like way more interesting stuff.
That's fair. I was really on the Idris Elba train for quite some time, but I think he's a bit too old now.
Yeah. I think Idris Elba would, back 10 years ago would have made...
Like Luther days, he would have been amazing.
Oh, dude, yeah. I mean, Stringer Bell walking into the Bond situation would have been incredible and would have been so powerful. My suggestion is also a little bit like, it's a little bit fun, but it also does fall into just like, here's a white British guy. But I am shocked that he's not on any of the sort of like lists or any of the sort of like ranking lists. And my answer has always been Nicholas Hoult. I would love to see Nicholas Hoult as Bond. I think that I think he can really do the dangerous thing when he like settles down, but he also has incredible comedic chops. And if you have a Bond with a little bit of comedy, especially for like in 2025, I think that is the key to sort of like male sexiness and like erotic, like male appeal. And I think Nicholas Hoult has it. I really, really love his work in The Great. And I really think that he could walk right in and just crush it. I think has all the tools necessary.
I think he would. I think I would like to see him do it, but I'm trying to figure out how to word this in a way, because I also love Nicholas Hoult, but I think the thing I've really loved seeing him play over the years has been like a little bit the more like pathetic side of things. Like I think he's really, really great at that, and The Great kind of falls into that a little bit. Like I don't watch The Great and go, that guy is James Bond. You know what I mean? Not that I don't think he's capable, but that's not the comparison I make, though.
So I know this is like, I'm speaking out of both sides of my mouth because I just said that like I think Dev Patel is a better actor than is like necessary to James Bond, but I think Nicholas Hoult has the acting chops to do it, and would push the character in a new direction in the same way that Daniel Craig like added a sort of like steely, sexually ambiguous, like dangerous alcoholic element to Bond, that was so cool. And I think Nicholas Hoult could add this like new thing. But I can tell you that like everybody that like is currently listed, whether it's like James Norton or Harris Dickinson or God forbid Henry Cavill,
he doesn't need to do it. He needs to do something funnier than that. But,
that bicep nerd like doesn't need to be anywhere near James Bond.
He needs to be Mission Impossible, Mission Impossible villains and funny stuff. He's way better, funnier. But yeah,
dude, he's such a dork.
He is a dork. It's kind of what's appealing. But
he's such a cringy dork. If they cast him as James Bond, I would be so upset.
He should. No, it's too obvious. But I do kind of like how there was one. Oh, sorry, this is really a tangent now. There was one rumor I saw that I doubt this is true. It would be a very, very different play. But there was this big rumor floating around that it was going to be Josh O'Connor. And I was kind of like, I don't know if I hate it, but it would be like a big swing.
Yeah.
He can, because like Challengers proves to me he can do kind of like the grungy, gross thing, you know? Like that guy is such a friggin' asshole.
It all comes back to Challengers. It all comes back to Challengers.
But it's just like, that would be a big swing. I'm kind of intrigued, but who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. But I think after the Aaron Taylor Johnson like Hunter movie bombed so hard, because Barbara Broccoli even had gone and like met with him and was like,
I know,
that was all the big rumor, that was Aaron Taylor Johnson.
Yeah, I think he has kind of that humor. Like he was the one thing in Bullet Train that I thought sort of worked. Him and Brian Tyree Henry's kind of like Cockney kind of back and forth. Like they were actually funny in a movie that I didn't think was very funny. But yeah, I don't know. I think he's like a little obvious, but I don't know. I want something a little not obvious this time, you know? I like how we both went with Skins alum, though.
Yeah, that's true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They're doing great, those boys. Daniel Kaluuya, they're all doing great.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
All right, let's move on to our final item, Stop Talking Bond. This is from a Variety article by Jack Dunn, featuring Maya Hawke, one of my favorite Nepo babies, she was on a podcast called the Happy, Sad, Confused podcast, and she basically talked about how in some cases the cast's social media following plays a huge role in whether or not a film will be made. I don't think this is really surprising, but I was appreciative to hear her sort of talk about it so outwardly. So she essentially said she knows several quote unquote smart directors who've encountered producers that demand a benchmark number of Instagram followers from their cast before moving forward with the project. And she was kind of talking about in the context of like, she often thinks about deleting Instagram, which, like, welcome to the club, Maya. I feel you. And has been had like conversations with like directors where they're like, well, like, wait a minute, don't do that yet. Wait. And then she kind of clarified her comments a little later. She was like, obviously it's not every single director. And then she went on to say there are roughly 10 directors who can kind of bypass this. She thinks, like, no questions asked. And 3 that she named were 3 that she's worked with. I want to know what you think about this because it kind of made me laugh. Bradley Cooper, Quentin Tarantino, and Wes Anderson. The Bradley Cooper one is like a funny point to me, but I kind of am like, yeah, maybe he can.
Dude,
maybe he does have that juice, which, like, I love that guy's movies, so I'm happy about that. I'm a little bit of a Bradley stan, but I was like, oh dang, like, he's popping to the front of the line. Good on him. Anyway,
dude, Bradley Cooper is A-list, like, no doubt.
But I was thinking in like the director, I guess, context of the word. But yeah, keep going.
I think that's what I think he has successfully completed the rebrand in an incredible way.
Let's go.
Really, really hard to pull off. So good for him. But isn't it so interesting that the true mark of A-list is that you don't need social media? Like, only the elitist of the elite can avoid having to self-market.
I know.
And if you're a top elite and you're still, like, active on social media, God forbid you're posting yourself, like, you're crazy. You're crazy. You have so much to lose. It's just, it's such a problematic signifier of our times. But yeah, I mean, like, in response to Maya Hawke saying this, I mean, I saw this so much on my Instagram feed. And all I could think was, like, duh.
I know.
Shout out to her PR team for, like, pressing this and pushing it out there and making sure that every trade covered it, like, as if it was some, like, incredible revelation and not like just the reality that we've been living with under the past 15 years. I mean, I know multiple people who, in packaging their short films that they're making for like $3,000, make sure to add, like, a quote unquote influencer into the cast. Because social media is the primary way that movies get advertised.
Yeah.
Like, it's the most effective advertising tool on earth. Duh.
You know, my boyfriend, as you know, is, like, in the midst of, like, marketing a short film, and, like, Instagram's, like, the bane of his existence. Like, he's just like, get this away from me. Like, I can't believe, and it sucks. Like, it's part of the ecosystem, like you said, but it just sucks that it's, like, this important. I do want to bring up Ethan Hawke's sort of, like, he weighed in on this. Someone asked him about it at Berlinale, and, you know, backed up his daughter like any good dad. And he had this really funny quote, which, like, when you read it, you can hear it in Ethan Hawke voice. And he's like, sometimes I'll be setting a movie up and someone will say, oh, you should cast Susie. I'm like, who is she? She has 10 million followers. I'm like, okay, cool. Has she acted before? No, but and you're like, wow, so this is going to help me get the movie made. That is crazy. And it just, you know, it made me think a lot of, you probably didn't watch this. In fact, I know you didn't, but, like, and I actually didn't even watch it because I was like, no thanks. But they remade She's All That. They, like, gender flipped it a few years ago. So it's called He's All That with Addison Rae. And, like, I don't want to make a comment on Addison Rae's acting ability because I've actually never seen her in anything, and I'm not going to do that. But, like, the reason she got that movie is because she's, like, the most popular TikToker of all time, right? Like, there's no other reason. I don't want to say for certain, I'm not sure, but if she'd been in a movie before, she hadn't been in a ton. Like, you know, it's just purely based on popularity. And I remember that happening and kind of being like, oh, well, duh, of course. So, like, it's just not surprising.
Yeah, I mean, look, this is a game of power and sales, and there it is for 99% of people that are operating within this business, even if they got into it because they were inspired by some piece of art, like, it is pretty zero sum in terms of survival. So it's just not surprising. My favorite Ethan Hawke quote from his whole little thing, though, was like, a lot of people think being an actor is just protein shakes and going to the gym.
What did he say? He was like, Robert De Niro wasn't a good actor because he had abs. It's
Didn't hurt though. Yeah, no, totally. I mean, listen, I have long felt the same way. I hate that all of our actors today like all look like they're like ready to step into a superhero suit. It is so problematic. Everybody with their fake teeth and their jacked up like hyper proteined bodies. Like, give me a real human, give me a real body, and give me a real mouth of teeth, for the love of God.
I was talking about this with my friend recently, and I'm sorry not to bring up Challengers again, but I'm going to because
three times in one show.
If you, and like, obviously Zendaya is beautiful. She's a beautiful, beautiful person. That girl has her real set of teeth. Like, you can tell, like, every actor in that movie has their teeth. And I was like, this is so refreshing watching like a movie with really hot people in it, and none of them at least look like they have veneers. They have veneers. They're bad veneers. So, like, you know, I was just like, I have this conversation a lot with one of my friends, like, especially if you look back at like old movies and like 90s movies, like, people just look like they're still beautiful. They're still movie stars, but they just like look like normal people with normal teeth. The teeth thing really bothers me.
Yeah, not Botox and fillered to death. I mean, we're gonna look back on pictures from 2015 to 2025, and it's gonna be like looking at people like with perms and spandex from the 80s. It's gonna be so time stamped by everybody's by the use and the style of plastic surgery, and how everyone's basically like designing their faces to look like Instagram filters.
Yeah,
it's so weird.
I know, and I like, it's obviously like that's like a whole other like industry problem as well. Like, you know, if you're an individual, do with your face what you want, do with your body what you want. I don't really care. But when it's happening within this larger ecosystem of I need to look this way to like get a job, that is like where it becomes, I think, really, the whole thing is like, it's so icky. I love real teeth, but
yeah, same. There's an incredible going back to sort of just like the idea of like how to package a film. There's an incredible interview with Christopher Reeve from back in the mid 80s, kind of after he played Superman. He was already like, but before the accident, and basically talking about how like even back in the 80s, like he was lamenting the back in the day studios were run by people who genuinely loved films, that like most of them were immigrants, came to this country with a love of movies, founded these studios or inherited these studios or came to positions of power through a genuine like love of art. And by after the new Hollywood of the 70s, and as people started to capitalize on that trend, and Hollywood went back into the 1980s as the multiplex sort of changed, multiplex and home video began to change distribution systems, it really shifted into sort of like packaging movies together in terms of selling territories. And that idea has now progressed forward, and we're no longer thinking about we're thinking about selling territories. We're certainly thinking about domestic versus international. We're thinking about international markets and how they come together, but really we're thinking about pay windows, theatrical versus streaming, and all of this is the stakes are super, super high because you don't have home video to cover the cost of the film.
Yeah.
Like we've talked about this before, but the home video market used to be 4 times the theatrical film market, the theatrical distribution market, and that all that money has disappeared. It just doesn't exist anymore. And so now the stakes are so high from your pay one theatrical window and your pay one streaming window. It is there's no wiggle room, and it makes everybody so risk averse, everybody's so scared, and we're also in a world that is completely dependent upon numbers to justify any type of decision. And one of the easiest numbers you can turn to is an Instagram follower count.
Yeah.
So it makes perfect sense that this is happening this way, but what we can pretty fundamentally agree on, does not lead to better movies.
No, not at all.
Which is unfortunate.
Yeah. Maya Hawk, I hope one day you can delete your Instagram. I hope that for me too. So.
Well, we started with social media and we're ending with social media.
Yeah. No, this was a good episode. We got through a lot. I'm so excited to see how the Oscars shakes out. But do you have anything you want to plug? Anything else you want to mention?
Yeah, well, I already mentioned it at the top of the show, but March 4th at the Terra Theater, I'll be introducing Akira Kurosawa's Stray Dog. Truly a incredible movie. One of the, it's Kurosawa's first capital G great movie, undoubtedly. And it's not only the greatest existential cops and robbers film arguably ever made, it's also the first buddy cop film, at the same time. So what a joy. Come out and check out that show.
Awesome. I don't think I have much to plug this week. If you want to know, I will have a full list for each category. Oscar predictions should be published by the time this podcast comes out, so you can check that out on Rough Draft Atlanta if you want. And yeah, that's all I got.
Awesome. Well, this has been great. If you like this episode, be sure to subscribe, rate, and review wherever you get your podcasts. That could be Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube. If you're on YouTube or you're on Apple Podcasts, leave us a comment, leave us a review, hit us with the 5 stars. All those things would really, really help us out. Mm-hmm. You can follow us on Instagram, Crash Zoom Pod, on TikTok at Crash Zoom Pod. And you can also email us, crashzoompodcast@gmail.com. That's crashzoompodcast@gmail.com. This has been wonderful. Sammie, thank you so much. And until next week, I will talk to you later.
Awesome. Talk to you later.